So today we're talking about a man by the name of Guillermo Marconi, okay? Holy shit, I nailed his name, dude. I was practicing his name for I'm like, Guillermo. Anyway, well, on December 12, 1901, Guillermo was able to send a radio transmission over 2,000 miles. I believe it was 2135 to be exact. When you type in the observer height, the target distance, target size, there's over 638 miles of missing curve. Now, when he first started doing this and was trying to experiment, he was laughed at, right? You won't even make it 200 miles, you know, the curve of the earth and all that. Well, not only did he succeed at his 2,000-mile venture, we are hitting places like Australia to England that's 9,000 miles, which is why weird things were created, like the ionosphere, right? They're trying to just imply that, no, these signals are hitting the ionosphere and bouncing. Nice try. So are you guys starting to catch on to what's going on? Whenever the heliocentric model gets debunked using scientific method evidence, a new theory that can never be proven arises that baffles science. Let's get away from the baffling theories. Let's get back to Occam's razor. The simplest answer is most likely the correct one. So guys, I just want to take a moment to clear some things up about the atmosphere, our world, and our eye limits, because there's people that think the human eye can just see forever. Well, folks, that couldn't be farther from the truth. Now, if you look behind me here, you see there's Mountain Ridge real close. Wow, it's nice, dark to find. And then this one's not too bad. We can see it. And then as we get a little further, it's getting a little tougher. And what about this? Okay, here. And like, man, these are getting hard to see. But there's nothing obstructing. Why can't I see it? Whoa, calm down, buddy. You're not going blind. Nothing's going wrong with your eyes. Again, this is just our atmosphere has no moisture. There is moisture in our atmosphere, right? And just like with water, you can only see, roughly half a mile with the naked eye underwater. You know, your hand's right here. You can see it 5 feet, 10 feet. Cool. As it gets farther, you can't see it. Nothing's obstructing you, but you can't see it. Well, guess what? It's the same thing on land. It's just a little bit farther, obviously, than underwater. Yeah, so as I said, underwater is roughly half a mile. Now, you get to sea level, it's roughly 2.9 miles. And on land, it's roughly 3 miles. Now, as I was doing some of the research, I was coming across a lot of, Andromeda Galaxy, 2.5 light years. We're seeing so far away. Guys, that's not true. It's never been proven. It would be like asking the murderer if he murdered the suspect. He's probably not going to admit it. Now, in case you're a little skeptical, you thought I was being deceptive, this goes not just for mountains, but building. I mean, here we are on the shoreline, here's some trees, and then way off in the distance, what do you know? It's getting lighter, it's getting harder to see. The thickness of the atmosphere's starting to affect our eyesight. Yeah, here again, close, wow, everything's great. As we get a little farther, we can still see here. This looks good, and then it's getting farther, and then, man, as some of these buildings get so far, there's nothing blocking us, clearly, but I just can't see it. It's almost like the atmosphere is getting thicker, like there's an atmospheric opacity. Now, just to put all doubt aside, this is the black swan photo, right? Here, this camera's put a foot roughly off the ground. The globe horizon, physical horizon, should be 1.2 miles. We're seeing a platform hill house at 6.2. We are seeing the platform habitat at 9.4 miles away, and the horizon is beyond them. Now, just to be transparent again, in case you're like, man, I saw a photo like that, it wasn't the same. Are you talking about this? You talking about like this, where, you're not seeing the bottom? Guys, that's refraction. There's more moisture in the air. And it changes based off of the atmospheric conditions. Guys, be better and don't just take some of these oil salesmen on TikTok that are lying to you and go out and do the research. Holy lunar landing, guys. If you look behind me, these are all like landing spots, whether it be probes or rovers or even manned mission, right? Apollo 11, dude, Buzz stood right there on that star. Now, the first thing I thought was weird is obviously the first mission, you want a little eye contact with Earth, something goes wrong. Okay, cool. But we have like Luna 17, 21, 20. At what point, where do we start hitting parts of the moon that we haven't seen for hundreds? I mean, thousands of years we've seen the face of the moon. When do you go over there? Or when are you on the bottom? When do you go you go unrelative on the bottom so we can see something we haven't seen all the time? I mean, every one of these are on the face of the moon. I find that so. Where's the dark side of the moon? Where's all the cool places we've never seen, right? And then I'm thinking, wait a minute, haven't I seen an interesting Earthrise image before? Yeah, this one right here. Well, hold on a minute. If all the landings are on the face, which means the side that's like you're pointed to the Earth, how did we get this top image? How did we get this photo here? I mean, can you make that? I mean, if you think about it, you'd be pointing, therefore to see the Earth. You would have a neck kink from hell, my man. So I'm just curious, can someone explain how we got on top when all the missions are from the face of the moon? Okay, so per request, I was asked to talk about the Bermuda Triangle. A lot of baffling things, a lot of monsters and spooky stories involved with this triangle. But is the Bermuda Triangle special? Is it one of a kind? Is it unique? Because it doesn't seem so. This here, if you don't know, is the Dragon's Triangle in the Devil's Sea located off the coast of China. So other than these spooky stories and urban legends about numbers of aircrafts and ships that are said to have disappeared under mysterious and spooky conditions. Yeah, just like the Devil's Sea, also the Devil's Triangle, sometimes considered as paranormal location. Again, lots of paranormal, but what else could it be? I mean, do you think it's the Loch Ness Monster or the Kraken? Or do you think maybe they're just hiding something like the Saturn V rocket and they just don't want the general public knowing? Because, yeah, people have been finding a lot of interesting space equipment that's orbiting up but it's in the ocean. What's going on? I mean, we see the space shows, they go to space, but there's always that edit. And then there's a cutscene, and then we're in space. There's a globe. It's just a big CGI. But if you watch live and you go to these places and you film it yourself, live unedited, they all seem to always go up and back down to these weird triangles that are out in the ocean. Now, I just showed you the Kennedy Space Center, and we know about the United States, but Mike, that's not the only one. This is Wenchang off Hainan in China. Wow, what do you know? They're all going up and they're all coming back down. So I'll ask once again, now with critical and new thinking eyes, do you think these triangles are full of monsters and spooky things? Or do you think they just don't want you going there and doing any type of exploration or research? I mean, there are photos of NASA trying to fake a re-entry. I mean, just stop and think logically and stop falling for the cool stories on the news. Be better. Wait, so hold on a minute. Did you think that the Antarctic Treaty and Antarctica was the only place that we could not freely, independently explore to prove where we live? Because if you did, boy, are you wrong. Yeah, not only can we not go to the southernmost part of our realm to prove where we live. Oh, well, that's okay. We'll just go to the most northern part, where we're all pulled with our compasses, these magnetic field of energy that pulls us all. It's telling us to go there. We can't go there either. It's called the Arctic, right? And it consists of the land, the water, and the EEZs that are above the Arctic Circle at 66 degrees and 33 minutes north latitude. There's those numbers again. Now, it doesn't stop there. As we have said, international law regulates this area as with other portions of Earth. Shocking. Yeah, these guys right here behind me, the Arctic Council. Now let's see what they're talking about. It says here, recognize the importance of maintaining peace and stability, right, in the Arctic. Well, probably because if we went there, there'd be big issues, buddy. But reiterating the urgent need for increased actions to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Okay. Now we've seen the laws, the propaganda that they use to lie and to be able to maintain these things from us. Now it says here also, the party shall facilitate access by the participants to terrestrial, coastal, atmospheric, and marine areas in the identified geographic areas consistent with international law for conducting scientific activities. Just reiterating that again, we cannot just freely and independently explore our realm and easily prove where we live. Now let's take a look behind me. This is what we see when we see the North Pole from Google Earth. Now, why is the Earth a cartoon, but where the satellites, not the problem. Let's focus on the continents here, okay? Very interesting. Now, they're talking about all this ice and, it's been frozen, climate change. So let's take a look back at some of our past maps to see how far, the climate change, how much climate change is actually going on, how much ice is melting. And when we look, this is from 1531, 4 land masses separated by 4 bodies of water, and there's no ice. Weird. Now another map in the 1531, maybe some globe deception, but if we see again 4 land masses with water, no ice anywhere to be found. Now let's fast forward to almost 100 years later, just in case, let's see if they have any ice. Maybe that was just a couple maps. No, Not only that, we're seeing the four landmasses separated by water, but what's this? Is that a magnetic north? You know, we've heard about Mount Meru, the Garden of Eden, so many cultures talking about their, the magnetic north and how important the north is. Now, if you go back to what we're shown, 1 mass, 2 mass, 3 mass, 4. Yeah, these are nonsense. They're just blacking these out. There are 4 rivers. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sure it's all just a coincidence, though, right? So can we talk about, what we experienced yesterday? Because it's, if we look into it, it says July 8th turns out to be the day that most people around the planet experience daylight at the same time. This occurs because most of Earth's population lives on one side of the planet. Okay, it might not look like that on most maps, it doesn't. But that's because the majority of classroom maps are distorted to be to be population-centric. I mean, it sounds like they don't even really know. They're just like, hey, dude, we don't really, everybody sees light at the same time, but, most people they're not even on that same side of the ball, but just trust us, okay? Because when you see the stuff that they show, I mean, this is Africa here. I mean, there's a lot on the other side. What do you mean? Everything's on one side? We all live on one side? It just doesn't look like that? Like, what do you mean? These are your images. Now, not only do they give you just some nonsensical explanation about how it's possible that makes no sense and doesn't prove anything, they then give you cartoon images as their science. Oh, well, this is how. There's a photo from space of Earth and everything's on the other side. Okay, guys, that's how. No, guys, this is an image. This is just a cartoon. This is not science. This is not what you call a scientific experiment or something that you can demonstrate, on your model. However, on the flatter side, on the level topographical plane side, we can not only show you images, right, to demonstrate, we can actually go in reality and demonstrate these things, all right? Now, you take a level plane here, a flat earth map, you add a dome and then a light source, and as you project the light in at certain angles that the light travels, you can get different amounts of light, which make a lot more sense than what we're told on the globe. So just remember, do not take some nonsensical explanation and some image that makes no sense, that's not even an actual photograph of anything, over demonstratable, repeatable, scientific method experiments. So guys, we have to talk about the burden of proof, because a lot of people just ain't getting it. So yeah, burden of proof is just if a scientist or any person claims that their theory can explain certain natural phenomena, then the burden of proof means that they need to provide evidence to support the claim, Pretty simple, right? Now, for instance, all ancient civilizations knew that we lived on a level plane and that the luminaries revolved around us, right? Until Copernicus in 1543 came up with the radical theory that everything in the universe revolves around the sun. Side note, notice how we have phrases, like you're starting to see this in the flat earth community, what, do you think everything revolves around you? What, do you think you're special? Yes, we do, in a very non-egotistical way. We're just intelligent and we observe things. Now, back to the point. There is no empirical evidence to support Copernicus' claim. That's where the issues arise, okay? Aristophanes, sticks and stuff, that works on both models, doesn't prove either one. Foucault pendulum, it has to be put into motion. It's clearly not the Earth doing it. Cavendish, we're told that gravity has a weaker force than the Earth's magnetic pole. So why would you think it's gravity and not the Earth? Then they go into special relativity, general relativity, dark matter. We found black energy. Now, just to clear up what empirical evidence is, okay, it is the quintessential part of the scientific method research, meaning you have to have it for your theory to become fact. Now, once that happens and you've pointed out the obvious, like they have no empirical evidence to back up the claim of the globe, then they start to change the responsibility of proving or disproving a point from one party to the other. That's not how this works. And that's when the fallacies kick in, which are common errors in reasoning that will undermine your argument. That's where this shit starts. Where's the edge, bro? Why don't you just go to Antarctica? Why can't I see Mount Everest from everywhere? How high's the sun? Aren't you saying you're smarter than all the scientists, bro? Why isn't it daytime all the time? You're just a stupid flat earther with no evidence. What are the stars made of? Now, those were all examples of what is a logical fallacy. Now, there are multiple types, but the most common is an ad hominem, right? Well, it can take many forms, from name-calling and insult, get that a lot, to attacking a person's character, questioning their motives, calling them hypocrites. Any argument that targets the source rather than the argument is an ad hominem. Now, an ad hominem can either be on purpose by someone who is disingenuous, or it can just be a defense mechanism by someone who is experiencing cognitive dissonance. They're indoctrinated, and they just can't seem to handle that they've been lied to by their trusted sources. So make sure that do not allow ad hominems to deter you from searching truth, and only allowing empirical evidence, scientific method evidence, to determine a fact and your reality. So if you guys heard about the Neutral Buoyancy Lab in Houston, Texas, boy, do we have some issues. Guys, there is an entire ISS replica underwater in Houston, Texas? Guys, this ain't normal. Why is he underwater? Now, it's not just astronauts working underwater on the ISS training for space-related issues. But astronauts ain't the only thing they fake in this pool. Are you kidding me? Now, what's crazier is you have things like astronaut Luca Parmitano that have had water flooded the spacesuit helmet of the Italian astronaut, forcing NASA to abort the spacewalk and get him to safety. Well, that's interesting because last time I checked, there's no water in space, not in a vacuum, but there's a lot of water in a pool. Now, I know what you're thinking, Mike, what's the big deal? Maybe the guy, he got some water in his helmet due to the training facility. But again, he wasn't training, he was on a spacewalk, right? And in space outside of the Earth's atmosphere, there's almost no molecules in the gas that surrounds the International Space Station. The absence of molecules means that the air pressure is extremely low. So if you're in an ultimate low pressure system, it's like a vacuum. Now, this is where the issues come in. The deeper you go under the sea, the greater the pressure of water pushing down on you is. So space has no pressure or very low pressure, and then water has high pressure, meaning that these are two completely different environments. Therefore, you would never train in water to prepare for space, right? Now, that would be the equivalent of me taking a road vehicle and then telling you we're gonna test drive it on water. Because if we can test drive this vehicle on water, that means it will drive on the road. Oh, wait. No, it doesn't. Now, what about this interesting painting at the Neutral Buoyancy Lab of an astronaut watching a scuba diver hand a Vitruvian man a drill to get through the firmament? That's interesting. Not to mention, if they had a green screen, how easy would it be to fake this stuff, guys? Just ask yourself, are you seeing anything on NASA or on live footage that can't be faked? Again, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm here to get you to think. Are you seeing anything that can't be faked? Is there any evidence that is irrefutable or undisputable? Or is it all this tomfoolery? So stop what you're doing. Let's look into thrust. What is thrust required dependent on? Weird question, disregard. Yes, thrust is dependent on the density of air. Thrust is the force of flight that pushes in the direction of the aircraft's motion, meaning that the propulsion system in the aircraft has to intake the medium of air, the resistive force, to push off of and to create thrust or motion. And yes, that works with both aircraft and rockets, when you're talking inside of our system or inside of our atmosphere. Note that we'll cycle back. So what's thrust on a boat, right? What does thrust mean? Regarding ships, thrust can be defined as the propulsive force that drives the vessel through the water against the resistive force, mostly hydrodynamic. Again, meaning that boats, their propulsion systems, have to use the medium of water to push off of the resistive force to thrust or move them forward. So let's look at some of these boat propulsion systems and look at some of the diagrams. Makes sense. Now, I'm curious, can they show this in reality? Diagrams are cool, but can you show it in reality? Why, yes, they can. Everyone's seen a boat in the water. That's demonstratable, repeatable scientific method experiments to back up your diagrams and math formulas. Now let's look into some of the jet propulsion systems. Nice diagram, makes sense. But can they show it in reality with a scientific method experiment to back up their diagram? Yes they can. We've all seen jets fly. They use the air to thrust off of and to move forward. NASA, what about rockets, right? We have this diagram and it propulses and, rockets fly, right? Well, let's see if they have any scientific method experiments to back up rocket propulsion. Well, yeah, they do. On Earth, here in our atmosphere, not space. That's where the issue comes in. Because, yeah, this is CGI. This is an image, brother. This is not a scientific method experiment. Now, I can already hear the trolls. Dude, it's a liquid rocket engine when we're in space, dude. Look up the diagram. And I am. Looks awesome. Wow, we even have a math formula. Ooh, numbers. I like numbers. There's a math formula. But can you show this in reality? Well, believe it or not, they can. But they're not in space. And when they are in space, they're not in space, but this is an image. This is not an actual photograph. Where's all the photographs? So just be careful of deceptive information, okay? Like rockets can propulse, yes, on Earth in our atmosphere using air, not space. And liquid engine propulsion systems do work on Earth, not in space. Don't just accept cartoons. Yeah, an analemma, dude. What is this, right? What an interesting pattern. Let me tell you how it happens. Yeah, so all you gotta do is you find a fixed location, a terrestrial point of view, and you take a photo of the sun every day at the same time for a full year. Now, they used to have these on globes. You used to see them, but people started getting smart. They're asking questions like, wait a minute, don't we have equal hemispheres? Because, if we do, shouldn't we be seeing like a perfect figure eight, whether it was the small end or the large end? It should be equal because we're on a sphere. But it isn't because we're not, which is probably why they're not on globes anymore. Now, if you come over here to the flat Earth map or the Gleason's map and you start applying that same analemma, that pattern, it makes perfect sense. And it makes sense because when the sun is in its innermost migratory path on the Tropic of Cancer, it's making a much smaller, tighter circle. But now as it migrates out here to the Tropic of Capricorn, it makes a much larger circle, which is why we get the disproportionate figure eight. Now, you didn't think this stopped with the sun, did you? No, you can do the same thing here with the moon. Trust me, guys, when you start applying some of that baffling science to the Gleason's map, to the flat Earth map, it starts to make a lot more sense. But don't trust me. Go do some research. Guys, these elites have gotten so arrogant, so cocky, that they don't even have time to fake space anymore. We don't have time for a fresh fake photo shoot. We need a super ooper fake photo shoot. They're just Photoshop. They're copy and pasting the same, Jack. Look at the wrinkles. Look at the wrinkles. They're just changing the shades. They're just change the lighting. Deborah, guys, this is getting out of hand. Now, if that wasn't enough, the jackets, that's just the beginning. Yeah, my guy Shatner here couldn't even be bothered to show up. They just copy and pasted his face on. Come on. Imagine helping people lie to everyone about where they live. You're doing fake little space, endeavors on your zero-G plane on the Blue Origin. And you can't even be bothered to show up to fake it. Come on. So have you guys looked into sprites and elves? And I'm not talking pagan holiday Santa Claus elf stuff. I'm talking about electrical discharges far above the normal thunderstorms we're used to. Yeah, some of these discharges are hitting so high above what we're told. They're hitting the ionosphere, which, we're starting to learn is the firmament. Now, I know you're told that, up here we have the ISS. It's much higher. We literally leave the atmosphere constantly, Mike. Now, the only problem is that when we get to these sprites, which are at 75 kilometers, that's cool, and I understand that's above the normal thunderstorms, so way down here at 12 kilometers. But when you hit elves at 100 kilometers, there's nothing up there giving live footage or photographs, to gauge what's going on. We're forced to take these illustrations that show, again, this is the highest we've been, this is the highest we can go. But then they just create a drawing and say, oh, well, we monitor these systems from the ISS. Where's the live footage? So far in reality, this is all we can prove. What would make us believe otherwise? In layman's terms, everything in our world, in our realm, is electromagnetic. And when electromagnetics build up energy, right, the conversion becomes electrostatics. And that's why we have these sprites and all of these different electrical discharges all through Earth. There is no gravity. Everything is electromagnetic. These things are testable and measurable, unlike gravity and all of these dark energy forces we have to believe to think we live on a globe. All I'm asking is that you stop overcomplicating your world and start thinking logically with demonstrations or scientific method evidence you can prove. A simple rule of thumb should be something called Occam's razor, which is the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. Let's keep it simple, guys. Okay, so hold the phone. Pluto the cartoon character was created in 1930 by Walt Disney. The planet Pluto was discovered in 1930 by Wernher von Braun. Yeah, these two guys, they go way back. They're homies. And I know what you're thinking, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that Wernher von Braun was a Freemason. Not to mention a Nazi scientist. Why is he running our space program? Now, although Walt Disney was not a Freemason, he was a part of De Molay International, which is an affiliate. Now, if you know anything about Freemasonry, Illuminati, or any of these secret societies and how things work, you know that they love to put truth in plain sight, and they love to mock us. And these two mocked us in a big way, and it's with Pluto. What do you notice in there? Almost see a certain face, see a certain character. This is an official NASA photo, or, excuse me, image. And the next generation of liars, they love to come over here and they love to rub it in. They all love Pluto. But it does not stop there, and I think this being the most in-your-face it could get. Wernher von Braun's headstone with the Psalms 19:1, which reads, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." I mean, I'm sure those are just some huge coincidences. Guys, I'm seeing a lot on here about eclipses and lunar eclipses saying, how does a flat earth explain? You guys don't even have a model that can, calm down. Do you have a model? Does the globe have a model? Because, what we're shown is this stuff here with the umbra, the penumbra, cool cartoon, cool image, bro. When we do any type of actual demonstratable scientific method experiments, this is what we're seeing. Awkward, I know. There are no experiments showing spheres, 2, 3, whatever, recreating an eclipse, but lunar or solar. Now, although they can't explain it perfectly, at least the Earth, the moon, they're all kind of in alignment. This is a normal lunar eclipse. Now, with a flat Earth, not too complicated. It's two local lights converging on a focal point, which can also explain selenilian eclipses, right? Which on a globe make no sense because you have the sun and the moon both above the horizon, meaning the Earth has nothing to do with any of these phases. Now, if you read here, it says the atmosphere refracts light, making the sun and moon appear higher in the sky than they really are. Well, that would fool most people, but if you've done some research, especially in the flat Earth community, we know refraction bends light downward. Meaning that if that were true, the sun and the moon being here would actually show up lower in the sky, not higher. Now, all I'm saying is we need to make sure that we think critically and logically and come to a conclusion that can then be demonstrated and backed through observable, repeatable science before we go on the internet saying some stupid stuff. So are you curious, why do we see the colors we do in the atmosphere, right? Especially if you're looking at a flat Earth, you've understood that a lot of the globe stuff, you get explanations, but no demonstrations. We're told, blue light comes in and shorter. We see blue because blue light is shorter waves, but then when the sun gets farther, the waves get longer. Now we see red. All the gas molecules are spinning. I don't know. I don't get it. Well, you're not alone, okay? And if you've been looking into the flat Earth, it's starting to make a lot of sense, a lot of these topics, but when you get to the color of the sky and why we see the colors we do, there's a lot of different theories. Now, this is where, again, scientific method and observable, demonstratable science comes into play and is how you can prove theory from fact. Now, one of the main things I hear is that the reason the sky is blue is because there is water both above and below us, correct? A lot of this comes back to religious texts, such as the Bible saying that God created the firmament to separate the waters above and below. Now, upon first hearing this and understanding that everything is water and that we do have a firmament, and when you look at the stars and other wandering stars, it does look as though there could be water above the firmament. But we also have to calm down. We have to stop and we got to think, right? Which is, blue is not the only color we see in the sky. We have oranges, reds, yellow. At certain times around the world, you have green, orange, red, right? It's not just blue. Now, I'm not sure, but I've never seen any experiments that can show light being above a water source with a firmament or some sort of prism that allows for the sky to change like that. Everything I've seen is different shades of blue, but none of the other colors that we witness or observe in reality. As well as us never being able to get past the firmament, correct? So if no one's ever been beyond the firmament, how would we go above the firmament to be able to test this theory and get scientific method evidence? Now, the next theory I hear is sky ice, right? You ever heard of that? It's found in Antarctica most commonly, and it is literally sky blue. Now, people are saying that this is literally the firmament, pieces of the firmament, right? The sky is falling, right? And that is why we see the blue sky. Now, again, we have never been beyond the firmament, and we do not have the current, funding or capabilities to just go up to the firmament in Antarctica. We're not allowed to go there, and to do these research to get the necessary evidence needed to prove this theory. So if it's not the water above, and it's not the firmament itself, what does cause the colors we see in the sky? Well, it's a lot more simple than you think, and a lot less baffling than science would like you to believe. Now, behind me are the gases we see: helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, and the most abundant, which is nitrogen, okay? That's the one we see the most. Now, when you ionize these gases with electricity, which is what now we know the sun is, it's not hydrogen gas on fire, you get these colors. The exact same ones we see in nature. Guys, we gotta stop letting science baffle us and start critically thinking. All right, let's do it. All right, I keep getting the meteorite question. How are the meteorites getting through the dome? Let's dive into meteorites. Yeah, do you know what the largest crater size is? It's in South Africa. It's over 99 miles wide. Now, the first logical question, right, is where's all the debris? Where are the massive, like Walmart-sized chunks of meteorites everywhere? Now, this is where all the cool stories start, right here. Fortunately, 90 to 95% of meteors don't survive the fall through Earth's atmosphere. Convenient. Now, the cool stories don't stop there. Most meteorites are found in Antarctica and the Sahara Desert. We can't go past 6. Convenient. Now, the next logically thinking question is going to be, well, Mike, why, how are they all perfectly indented at, with, they have 90-degree upturned edges, right? There's none coming in at an angle and like skidding across the earth. They're all just perfect crater impact for the perfectly upturned edge at 90 degrees. That ain't right. I mean, we should be having meteors going up and over and through, and oh my God, we're going in 4 different directions at 1.3 million miles per hour. But they don't. Okay, I'm getting there, okay? So if they're not being hit by meteorites and these aren't caught, what is it that we're seeing that falls to the sky, right? The meteors we're seeing. Well, oddly enough, people have seen in film some of these meteorites falling, right? Well, they go to the site. They're inquisitive people. These what they're finding. They're finding these metal spheres, Australia, Brazil, but it's not just there. It's everywhere, okay? And they're wrapped in like razor wire. And when these are reached certain speeds, okay, especially being dropped at high altitudes, they will catch fire and they look like meteorites. Convenient. Right, so we've talked and we know that these are not space rocks coming through the dome. And we've shown that what we're seeing for meteorites, very easy to fake through military personnel. I mean, they're metal balls wrapped in razor wire. Very simple to fake, right? But what could they be? What are these massive holes? Well, have you ever looked into geysers? Yeah, geysers here like at Yellowstone Park, okay? If you look here and you get close, you see that upward edge? It looks very similar to that 90-degree angle we're seeing come out of these crater impacts. Yeah, now look at some of these geysers after they've erupted. Familiar? And it ain't just one. There are hundreds. Now, we've all heard of the stories of different religions, Noah's Ark, etc., talking about there being a great flood and water's coming from the great deep. Now, I don't know for sure, but it's making a lot more sense than what we're told. So I'm just asking you to think a little before you believe some nonsense. So has anyone seen the Space Force logo? The one right here? Now this pattern right here, this should be familiar to you, but if it isn't, let me learn you something. Yeah, that pattern is the seed of life, which is just the aerial view or above view of an electromagnetic toroidal sphere. But that pattern's importance does not stop there. It is also the exact pattern that our luminaries above make over our stationary plane every year. Which, when you think our ley lines on Earth look like this, which they don't, doesn't mean much to you and you might not think much about it. But once you realize our ley lines actually look much more like this, things start making a lot of sense. Yeah, it's almost as if the luminaries are electromagnetically locked or quantum locked to Earth. And they just make the same pattern revolving on the ley lines of Earth every year, forever and ever and ever. Now, if only someone, our ancestors or someone before had just kind of warned us, had told us that, we weren't spinning and that it was actually the luminaries above. They all did. We don't even have to go back that far. We're about Claudius Ptolemy here. Yeah, he seemed to map the exact pattern seed of life from the luminaries above with no optics such as telescopes or any type of, cameras that we have today. Somehow mapped out Polaris never moving and the rotation of the firmament, the stars. Not only there, it didn't stop there. I mean, it's real funny how a guy in 127 AD was able to describe, explain, and then demonstrate perspective of constellations going counterclockwise and clockwise in respective hemispheres. Now, this is where the narrative and the history, the winners of war rewrite history, his story, correct? Because it says here that Ptolemy thought that the universe was a set of nested spheres surrounding Earth. Nested spheres, that sounds a lot more like, luminaries, balls of energy, sonoluminescence, things like that, not rock planets. Especially considering at that time, there was definitely no curve, no motion ever detected. We still can't today. So what would make him think he lives on a ball, right? That's why sometimes using discernment, we have to take the things that can be proven and other things as cool stories. So just as like a rule of thumb, when you're trying to do some research and all of a sudden science is getting baffling, stop thinking of it from a perspective that's spinning out of control and get back to being level-minded. Guys, I wanted to give you a little taste, a little hint, and a little insight into the deception that we're getting, okay? So this here is a San Space Agency, okay? And they're commenting back to Trump, whatever, I don't care about all that. But look at this curve here. Wow! Beautiful, right? You can't fake that, man. That is just gorgeous curve, right? Hold on. Yeah, the only problem here is the guys at San Space aren't too bright. They didn't realize that the curve is the same at ground level than it is up in the air. Now, it isn't just a sun, and this happens a lot. These wide-angle lenses, these fisheye lenses, man. And again, it's not just a sun, right? I assure you. Don't just trust me. Yeah, see, NASA's doing this shit all the time, too. And you'll get people, man, that ain't nearly that high. That's not what that look. No, brother. All you've ever seen is NASA. How many times you been to space, dude? Last Tuesday, you went up there, you watched an episode of Naked and Afraid? No, you didn't, okay? And then they're, well, that means that, everybody's in on the lie, dude. It isn't that hard, my man, I assure you. Just like in the military, compartmentalization, okay? And then, if we look at these different space agencies and the nonsense they put out, wouldn't be too hard to maybe think they don't even talk to each other. Look at this. It's completely different. It's not even sort of, kind of, maybe accidentally close. Be better, guys. Hey, TikTok. Alright, guys, this one's almost too f***ing good to be true, so I had to double check. And believe it or not, scientists discovered that Earth's Star Trek-style invisible shield surrounds our globular Earth. It's almost like these electrons are running into a glass wall in space. Interesting! We just don't get hit by meteorites because there actually is a dome. Now, flat earthers, you've been right? High pressure next to low pressure. Without a physical barrier, it's impossible. There is. It's actually a invisible meteorite deflecting shield. Has nothing to do with flat earth, though, at all. We promise. Don't look into it, dude. Seriously, trust me. Hey, TikTok. So, I was thinking, guys, what makes people think they live on a globe? a spinning ball in a vacuum with no evidence. We don't have any curve, motion, gravity, never been detected or proven scientifically. It's interesting. Made me think. Then it dawned on me. It's like, well, what do you mean? We just have propaganda constantly. I mean, it's just everywhere. From a baby, you're given a globe, right? You know, in your little play set. Elementary school, dinosaurs. It's all, you know, it's all there, and it's all to kind of set the foundation for what you're going to see, what you're going to think, and how you will perceive that information. And you know, about not too long ago, a year or so ago, man, Fortnite here had a season 2, and I thought it was real interesting, man. You got the leaders sitting around a table, and this is actually a dome, right? This is actually a dome. When they come down to eye level status, this is a dome. I was like, that's interesting. A level plane with a dome, enclosed system, white wall going around. Like, interesting. Now, I didn't get too crazy on the past season. I didn't want to jump the gun, but I did bring it up to my child, and I talked to him. I pointed out some things. But then the newest season had came out, and guys. This is propaganda. That is flat earth propaganda 101. This is how they get to the children, right? So they got to our generation with all the stuff in the textbooks and the boat getting blown. It's going off the edge. And then we get to this stuff where when you're a little older, you can play video games, and now they're trying to really capture your imagination. You're in space. You're fighting evil forces. Now that's all cool, and I get it. But, you know, when I started seeing the past picture, the past image, it made me think, where have I seen that before? Yeah, Hunger Games. Same exact situation. You have a bunch of elites that force people to compete or, you know, for their life or money, whatever it is. And they're inside of a dome, a level plane with a dome, an electromagnetic dome. What do you know? It's electrical. They end up breaking through, but that's not the point. The point is, everything is constantly thrown in our face in music, movies, news, whatever it is. All the propaganda is there. Now, you know, speaking of Hunger Games, right? It's not just the flat earth, the electromagnetic dome, the enclosed system, of course. But you ever seen some of the outfits that we allow these celebrities to wear to some of these events, like the Met Gala? I mean, some of these look a little satanic, maybe? I mean, is this not a little inverted to you? Baphometish? I mean, this is sun worship, right? I mean, nah, it's all bullshit. It's not. Go back to your scheduled programming. Hey, TikTok. So how did... I got it. We had really good cartographers back then, and it was a lot easier to map the Earth without satellites. We now have satellites, and we have GPS. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they did it. Hey, TikTok. Oh, hey guys. So yeah, I'm just curious if you guys think Mr. Cox here is actually this ignorant and stupid, or if he's just deceiving us like all the other mainstream physicists and astronomers. What was that? Oh, in the back, yeah. Oh, it's just a couple of civilizations here? Okay. Yeah, here we go. How about there's just a couple cultures, huh? Yeah. Shut up. Hey, TikTok. So, none of you have thought like it's weird that we just have like NASA and some other countries, space agencies. We have a couple like Elon Musk on SpaceX. But did you ever ask yourself, like, why don't we have like way more people studying these things, trying to get, and further the human species into space, technology, anti-gravitic device, all kinds of, awesome, groundbreaking, innovations, technology, inventions. I mean, I don't know about you, but I used to be real big into astronomy. I was real big into, planets, and there's a billion other planets and galaxies, and, there's other species. There has to be. But then I started really questioning. I'm thinking to myself, why do we only have so many agencies? Like, shouldn't we have like hundreds of thousands of corporations, agencies, government entities, whatever, trying to further the human species? Why don't we have like hundreds of millions of different people, citizens, going to space and trying to figure this stuff out all together as a human species? Well, then, you start to look into it and you start realizing, well, we only have 41 active astronauts right now. 41. Well, All right, well, how many people do we have on Earth? You know, next obvious question. 8 billion people? And I mean, once you start doing the math, you know, like a lot of things that are astronomical and that baffle scientists, the math just isn't mathing. What's going on, NASA? All right, so I've been getting a lot of memes or NASA official photos. There's official photos behind me. Those look like cartoons to me, bud. Hey, tic-tac. Guys, again, man, I keep hearing even though we have the formula for curvature, and NASA's given us all the numbers, right, for their model, the heliocentric model, all the numbers are in. They only work with the numbers. The diameter is 7,917 miles. We can literally take places that we see up here, and we can prove that from Puerto Rico, San Carlos to Matamoros is 914 miles. Scale's there, buddy. The scale's right there. Make it make sense, please.
Hey, tic-tac. If 8 inches per mile squared has nothing to do with the curve of the Earth, why is it on a globe?
Now, what makes you think that you have a say-so, that your vote matters in these elections? We saw in the 2024, it was complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. Now, these guys work for the same people. Now, you're asking yourself, if our government, if our politicians aren't in charge, Mike, well, who is? Well, it's these organizations who just so happen to also have a Gleason's map or a flat Earth map. Weird. Because, just like this wreath here signifies Antarctica, that's only one meaning. All right? I'm not sure about your history, but in Rome, the wreath signified victory or a win in battle. It seems like we're being told that the world has been overtaken. Now, I know your next question. Well, Mike, we have law and order. We have justice. We have a political system, a voting system. Not so fast. What voting system is that? It wouldn't be Dominion voting systems, would it? Smartmatic? None of these things, right? Because, there's already been multiple other countries that have used the same exact system and overthrown their ruler. Literally, the people overthrew their ruler. Now, again, if this was, if this is all a conspiracy and they're plotting to behind us to overtake the world and they're trying to do a one world, why isn't anyone doing anything? We have a court system. We can just hold them accountable. Well, that's where it gets a little interesting and sinister. The Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, this guy behind me, is on Epstein's flight logs. Hey, tic-tac. So on the next episode of What'll They Fake Next, we got a good one, all right? It's Antarctica and the midnight sun, the 24-hour sun, or lack thereof. Now, I've seen them fake it before, and I've seen, where the mountains dry, and then within seconds, the mountain's covered with snow because they stitched different videos together of different times of the year and just try to pass it off as one. I've seen some where they just, the shadow, you're watching the shadow on the pole, it's going around half day, boom, it resets. It never actually fully goes around. I've seen that, and this time they've really outdone themselves with this botch job. But all right, but before we touch that, let's see. We all know that Alaska every year during the summer has an actual midnight sun or 24-hour sun. Beautiful time lapse of photos and videos. Let's check those out. Yeah, now here's a real one in Alaska. 24-hour time lapse, midnight sun. Look normal. Everything's normal. Looks like a good sun. Looks like a beautiful day. Obviously, they're using a fisheye lens, a wide-angle lens. That we're not going to get on that. That's a whole different video. But yep, you see the sun high. Let's see sundown. All right, yeah. See, normal sunset's getting farther away. The sun's getting smaller, and the light's getting dimmer. What do you know? It's about to go to the optical horizon. Sits there, and it comes back up. Very normal. Normal. Every year we see this. But this year, okay, this is the Antarctic midnight sun. Okay, real mountain. What is that? What is that? God, that's a CGI sun. There's no way you can tell me that that's real. If you think that's real, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how to help you, bud. Okay? But let's not just look at the sun and how CGI and completely fake and cartoon it is, but let's watch the sunset and the lack thereof of the setting part or the getting away part. Yeah, this is it. This is the sunset. This is as low as the sun got in the video. Is here. This is the sunset. There's even a portion of the video where, there's the chemtrail cloud smog where the whole sky is just cloud and blocking out the entire sun the whole way. NASA, could you care to explain? All right, so if you see these two photos and something inside your brain doesn't click and you're like, okay, well, one of them has to be lying, right? I don't know how to help you. So I'm sitting here wondering what makes you think that there are thousands of satellites orbiting us at 1,000 miles per hour right now, when it's common knowledge that the majority of our communication is done through underwater fiber optic sea cables and cell towers, land-based communication. That's why, guys, it's not global positioning satellites. They are ground positioning systems, all right? It's really not that complicated. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mike, what are you talking about? I've seen satellites in space. Are you sure? Because NASA, Honeywell, they don't admit to photographs of satellites in space. They are images of satellites in space, such as the one behind me by Honeywell. All right, guys, I work at these places. I'm a contractor. I've worked at Honeywell, Lockheed Martin. All these same images are on the wall. There are no photographs. This is not a real photograph. All right, but it's not just Honeywell. Oh yeah, no, Lockheed Martin's doing this stuff too. I mean, think about it. Look at this. What is that? And it's not just one. I mean, it's multiple. And I'm thinking, dude, if I'm making satellite parts, I'm trying to help humanity. I'm trying to further our species. And I'm like, hey man, I was working on that satellite last week, Mark, and I'd love to show my kid, a photo of one of our satellites in space. And then he emailed me this. Like, dude, what the f is this, bro? You can't be serious. Send me the real photo, please. And that's where you'll come to find out, dude. There are no actual photographs, and it's crazy. The small amount of satellites we do have are all within our Earth's orbit, all within the firmament. They're things like this, which is the Project Loon from Google, dude, which failed, by the way, because it's not going to happen. It can't even happen in the dome. It damn sure ain't happening outside the dome. All right, and they just have the actual real satellite connected to this balloon. All right, now listen, man, some of these high altitude balloons, dude, they get as large as football stadiums. They can stay in the air for weeks, months. It's impressive. It's actually crazy, okay? And I know what you're thinking, there aren't just a whole bunch of balloons everywhere. Well, no, it's not just balloons, okay? It's not just satelloons. There are things called HAPS, right? It stands for HAPS, which is high altitude platform stations, such as this that are flying around, okay? There's HAIL, which are high altitude long endurance. There's airborne relay. There's all kinds of things, man. And, oh, well, I see the lights. I see the ISS in the sky. I can see it orbiting. Go watch it, Mike. No, nobody. We can prove that you cannot see a Boeing 747 with the human eye, the naked eye, at 7 miles up, roughly 7 miles. But you think something that's just slightly larger than a Boeing 747, you're seeing it over 250 miles? Keep dreaming, bud. So did they send the Legos to globe Earth or concave Earth? NASA, link me, bro. So we got to talk about enclosed systems, because I'll hear, you'll see a lot of the bot troll accounts and stuff, and some people say, well, flat Earth is so stupid. Well, what's so stupid? Because every time that we have ever created life, plant, and whatever we're trying to create, it starts in an enclosed system, dude. Plant chambers that are underwater, whatever it is, terrariums, it does not matter. They are self-sustainable. Pressure has to have a container. I did some looking today for an experiment, and any scientific method experiment to prove that you could have pressure without a container. Nothing. Everything was go outside, look at the atmosphere. Our Earth, our world is a perfect. Guys, that's not an experiment. That's you just saying something. Go outside. Why is this? Can you explain why the sky's blue? Look up, it's blue. That's not an experiment, guys. You have to come to a conclusion through using a hypothesis, and then implementing that in reality, and then demonstrating it, observing it, and then it's something that anyone can do. It's not like a gate-kept secret that's only done through weird cutscene and Hollywood editing. It's I don't understand. Again, every time we create life, it's an enclosed system. So why is that so weird? When they show how they're going to create life on Mars, they're in enclosed systems. Why is that so weird? Why is that so hard to understand? Fill me in. Hey, TikTok. Are you one of those people that come to TikTok looking for truth? You like to question. You like to learn. You've been out in the world a little bit. You've already come to realize it's bullshit. Everything's literally designed to keep us down and dumb. Well, you've come to the right place, because I'm here to clear a few things up, because there's a lot of, globe troll accounts. Some are even paid for. Weird. We're not going to get into that yet. Let's start slow, okay? You're special. You are intelligently designed, and there is a creator. We live in a created world. Now, I'm not religious, and I do not subscribe to any religion. I don't believe anything, okay? The belief is the enemy of knowing. Second, we do not live on a spinning ball inside of a vacuum, traveling at 1.4 million miles per hour in 4 different directions. I know, shocking, absolutely crazy. But let me just let me pique your interest. Because, yeah, we've all seen the NASA, the Blue Marble, and, I'm not sure if you've seen some of these other ones. They get a little weird, but believe it or not, these are not photographs. These are images. That's all they are. NASA even admits that. They will not call them photographs. Promise. But over here, on a level plane, you can do real-world observations. You can do scientific method experiments yourself out in reality to prove we're not on a ball. You can do these things, unlike the heliocentric model that does not have any experiments that prove that we're on a ball at all. Einstein, many other of these pseudoscientists have literally admitted this. So to really close out, again, no one can travel beyond 60 degrees south in any direction unless you are on vacation, a guided tour of some sort, a scientist, or in the military. That's it, man. There are literal documented accounts of boat and plane not being allowed to, being turned away, met by some sort of military force. Okay, we have to get away. You got to use discernment, man, because again, there are a lot of troll accounts. They just say insults. They just say vague statements that don't mean anything. Oh, you never finished elementary school. Oh, must be nice to be ignorant. They're just saying stupid things. That doesn't prove flat earth. They're just words. Okay. Stay on TikTok. Keep looking at these apps. Keep going through the information, using discernment, taking some of the sources, such as the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app by David Weiss, Jeranism, Austin Whitsitt Gets It, Globebusters 24/7, Ken Wheeler, Santos Bonacci. There are a lot of great sources. A. Warrenon. Do your own research, and don't just trust what troll accounts on the internet are saying. Trust what you can prove using science, the scientific method.
Hey, TikTok. Hey, do you guys got any of that curve, dude? I'm trying to find curve. Nobody's got it. I don't care what elevation. I just need some curve. We're not on a ball. Hey, TikTok. What's up, guys? We got to talk about flight paths, all right? Flight routes, and pertaining to being on a globe or a level plane, a flat Earth, okay? And how, when it comes to most flight routes, or a lot of northern to northern locations, the globe and the flat Earth are similar. Very, not too many problems, not too many objections. But it's that tricky southern to southern, that south to south location, where things should be very simple. Little connection from South America to Africa, whatever it is. Should be very simple. Australia to South America. These should be very simple, quick flights, cheap. They're not. You'll find out that is completely not true. Now, I got a book behind me called 16 Emergency Landings Proving Flat Earth, okay? Which, if I'm not mistaken, that's up a couple. That's either 18 or 19, I think, now, emergency landings, okay? Nonetheless, they prove that we are not on a globe, okay? Whether it be pregnancy, heart attack, stroke, whatever the case may be, the plane's got to stop. So the scheduled flight is interrupted, and they will make, one is they're coming from Tokyo, they're coming from Japan, they're going to Los Angeles, and they stop at Alaska. They go way up to Alaska, and you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? It's closer to just finish your trip. Why would you go a longer distance to stop for an emergency? That makes no sense. Until you apply a Gleason's map and you find out it's a straight line and Alaska is completely on the way, it makes perfect sense. Now, I want to show you at least one of these. I'm not going to get into all 16. Okay, go get the book, go do some research. But I do want to show one, just to give a nice example. Yeah, so here, all right, on this example, we got a guy going from Sydney, Australia, trying to get to Rio de Janeiro, South America, and for some odd reason, they go all the way up to Los Angeles. That makes, why? That makes no. Why would you go almost, wow, you're going almost twice your distance when you just make a nice little trip right here on the bottom of a ball. Should be very simple, right? Wrong. It's not what happens. But you know what? When you go to a flat Earth map right here, it makes perfect sense on a Gleason's map. It's a straight line. I'm telling you right now, again, it gets overlooked a lot because a lot of northern to north locations, it's no issue. There's no problem. You wouldn't really recognize, you wouldn't see too many discrepancies or anything like that. The southern to southern flight gets a little dicey, okay? And there's multiple flight routes that could go, across Antarctica, but we got to save the penguins. We don't want polluted ice caps. We just want nice, bright white ice. Real important. Makes no sense, dude. Until you start to realize again that it's just nonsense. It's a cover-up, and it's because you can't do that flight.